All right, we're gonna start this video very simply. We're going to cut off this end and we're gonna square up our blank here. Okay, so I'm looking for 11 inches. Now you'll notice that I did not cut that straight, if you can see all the way down that end. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's going to give us a nice 11-inch rocker. And to be honest, I haven't fully decided what color I'm going to be doing yet today. But we're going to get our blank cut out first. So we're going to start with this end, so you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so just right there on the end, and I'm going to rock it back and forth. And what this does is that gives me a nice imprint of the whole thing, and it's clean. That leaves us with this. You can see that imprint there, and that allows me to now have a direction to cut from. And that gives us a great edge. Look at that. So that is going to be really nice. I'm going to have to shave that down just a touch using our nail file, but it'll look good once it's there. Okay, so I'm going to tilt back around and do this with this side as well. Okay. And now that we've got that done well, there we go. That gives us a nice clean edge there. And now just take this to file off any extra edges that we might have gotten there. And it's not a deep detailing by any stretch, but it does come out very nicely. All right, now we can do the fun part. We get to bevel the edges, and that just gives us a nice smooth line. Today I think I'm going to be doing a mahogany, and one of the reasons is that mahogany is actually a crowd favorite, but it's also one of the ones that I started with originally that I didn't create from this angle. So you're going to be able to see this really clearly. All right, so we're going to start that with, let's see here, there's our mahogany die. We're going to start with, actually, we're going to start with our antique finish. Strike that thought. We're starting with mink oil. The reason we're starting with mink oil is so that once we get this done, we're not going to have any leftover residue on the back from any dye, from any stain, from any of the from any of the tokenol, from nothing. So that will leave us with a beautified edge and a back that is able to receive a pipe without dropping it, but still has a little bit of grip strength just to hold it well, hold it in place. And you'll see I'm not putting on a lot. This is just enough to get my hand or my fingertip just a little bit, I wouldn't say damp, but just a little bit of that mink oil on it. And we just want it spread thin, evenly across the surface of the whole piece here. All right, that looks good. You can see we actually have a little bit of a one of the original maker's marks on the back, which is kind of cool. I love to have stuff like that on my leather. Now, I wouldn't probably sell this one directly to anybody, but I like stuff like that. I like brands. I like maker's marks, those types of things. That's part of a maker's mark. So it's kind of cool to have a little piece of history built into it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do antiquing gel. You don't need a lot of this at all, just enough to get it dark. You'll see what I mean in just a second here. This antiquing gel is phenomenal stuff. It's Phoebing's, it's dark brown, and so it gives it just a little hint of flavor without overdoing it. And notice that I am barely touching here. And here's the fun part is that when certain parts soak in, like this dark part, that's just going to leave a beautiful, deeper coloration for that specific part. Now you'll notice that I am going over the edges with this. And the reason for that is that it's going to darken those edges just a touch. And that's going to allow this color to really saturate, but also to give it a warm look, and not to let it be overpowering, I guess is the best way to say it. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more. I'm going to get the top of this before I get the rest of the edges. I like to do my edges pretty well, just to kind of give it uniformity. And I'm surprised how dark that one spot really came out to be. But the nice thing is that's actually going to come right out pretty much immediately. And that's because we're going to use Resin over this next layer. And the Resin is going to keep the mahogany dye from overpowering the whole piece. And that's what gives it the worn, weathered look. It's going to give it a bit of cherry flavor, and it's going to make it feel like it's maybe been sitting on a wood stove for 30, 40 years. And it's all going to be a brand new piece. And you'll notice that I'm not using any gloves. And that is okay. I don't need to use gloves with this. This stuff comes right off. Generally speaking, I use it for stain. And you'll notice I got this on the back in a couple different places, and that wipes right off. It's darkened nicely. Really getting those end marks there. All right. And I don't want it to be patchy necessarily, but I don't want it to be clean either. And there we go. That is a well-rounded, well-antiqued piece of leather. The next part is the easiest of all the steps we're going to be doing tonight. So we're going to need a couple of these. I didn't mean to tear them apart, but hey, it's going to work out very well. We've got our Phoebing's neutral Resin. Basically, this is just a clear coat, and you can't really see it in there, but it's on there. And what this does is it just gives it a nice shine. You should be able to see a little bit of shimmer on that. Okay. Now, it takes a little bit of the dye off, which is kind of what we want. We're gonna leave that over here. I'm gonna put the cap back on because I know me. And this is the tricky part because two things. A, I'm not using gloves, which can be an issue. And B, we're using as little of this mahogany dye as possible. Okay, so watch, and that's it. That's all the dye we're using for the entire piece. And people ask me if I'm gonna cut it. I've tried cutting it, and cutting it does work, but I found that there's an easier solution. So here's, you saw it's very little. So here's the, the dye, the way that it comes naturally when it comes out of the bottle. I'm going to unfold it, fold it over again, fold it back this way, and now we're left with an inner dye circle which has much less dye on it. And all we have to do is bend that up a little bit so I'm not actually touching the dye itself. And look at that. Beautiful, beautiful pull on that. Put it all the way down. And we're pulling it into a deep, rich mahogany color there. And you see how little dye we actually used? That's it. That's all we need. And look at the beautiful color on that. That is a gorgeous color. It looks like wood. And that's what we're going for. That's why the coloration doesn't matter when it comes to, or discoloration doesn't matter, because it allows it to breathe and really show like, hey, I'm not just a piece of leather. I'm used, I'm worn, I've got all these other qualities to me. And it fakes it in a way, but it gives it a truly rusticated feeling while being 100% brand new. Now look at that, that is beautiful, and it's really going to pop and shine. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull over once, twice, and that pulls off any excess while still sealing our leather. That's it. Now, everybody's favorite part. Being facetious, maybe not everybody's favorite part. Tokenol. Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit of that. A touch there, and you'll see it. I'm going down to grab just a piece of canvas. That's it. That's all the canvas we need. Everybody's like, you gotta have all this stuff, you gotta have all this extra. And I'm like, no, you need a little bit of something. That's all you need. You don't need all the best tools or all the stuff. Anybody can do this. I learned how to do this by posting on YouTube. I learned how to do this in a matter of 6 months. Just learning, understanding, buying the little bits and tools and things that I needed just to start and to learn some of the basics. And that was all that was required. There's not a lot of overarching, like, you have to do this, you have to do that. There's nobody teaching me how to do any of this stuff. I just picked it up. And if I can pick it up, I'm sure you can, because this doesn't require a lot of overzealous understanding, anything like that. You don't have to be complex with it. You can just simply be, hey, I want to try something new. And all it requires is a little bit of understanding that, hey, I am willing to learn and grow and find something that I enjoy doing. And that was what it was for me, is I wanted to find something that I was going to enjoy doing. And it turns out that leather is that thing for me. Of all the things I've tried over the years, leather has been the most fun, the easiest, and most rewarding overall. Add a little bit more here. There we go. It's just a nice, thin, even coat. And if you are listening really close, you can hear that little pop on the end of each stroke back and forth. And what that is really doing here is that it's telling me that the leather has absorbed the tokenol that I've put on it, and it has expanded a little bit, and it has sealed itself through friction. And that is a smooth edge. So I'm just gonna add a touch more here. It's really not a lot. It's just enough to soak in. And to just let the piece become what it's supposed to be. If you're looking for a word for that, that's finished. There we go. Very nice edge there. And then we come around the corner to our last edge. All right, not bad. And there is our finished blank. Let me pull this out of the way here. And it looks fantastic. Now there's just that there, and that edge really shines, really comes through. So let's look at our top edge. This will be our finished product, and this is mahogany. That is a beautiful, beautiful piece. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our hole punch, and I'm going to line this up, make sure that everything is set there. Adjust it slightly. And you don't want it too far off the end. You want it pretty squared away. Go. You saw this little thing shoot out there. That's just the leather hole itself. Now we line up our pieces here. Make sure that our ends are together. And that cut beautifully. Now, because of this being the underside that we cut, what I just do is I come back through the top, clip it, and spin it, and that gives us a finished hole right there on that other end. Now we do a test fit, see if everything lines up, and yes, it does. And that's going to be again, a beautiful piece. What we want to do is we want to pop this in, make sure that it's centered. And then we're going to use the pressure to seat this properly. Flip it over. Insert our screw here. And get our handy dandy little. Yep, that's why I wanted to do a test fit, because it spins. All right. And there it is, our finished pipe rocker. And as always, we do our test fit. And look at that beautiful rocker. All right, and as always, remember, adventure through dependability.